start streaming. And just wait a few seconds, although as soon as I start streaming, it does start up. So, alright, everybody, guess what? It's Saturday, January 11th, 2020, and hopefully this will be 4 more years. At least, I'm hoping 4 more years of Trump. At least he's doing something and not trying to be the worldwide political bitch. And we got a lot of traitors out there, a lot of them in this state right here in Oregon. And Ed's going to let you know quite a bit about it. But first, I want to mention that, in my personal opinion, which is not going to be changed, I'll let it stink up like a diaper. The terrorist that was attacked, that was a good strike. In fact, they should have done that as soon as it was deemed a terrorist, instead of basically being the world political bitch that our previous, 3 presidents have been. At least Trump is making a stand. So, Ed, why don't you take it away?
Okay, well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I want to get into a couple of things that people need to be aware of. Now, I've got to finish this ballot title I've been telling everybody I'm doing. I had to do some research on it to make sure what I'm doing. Mount Hood Land Exchange, a decade of works, one step closer to being completed. They're selling Mount Hood to Asia. See, this is the point that people are not intelligent in this country. There's no brain power. Because these Democrats and these people, Pelosi, and all these people are selling your public land to foreign country, and you don't give a fuck about your children. You lie to them. Tell them that there's Christmas. There ain't no Christmas. Here's Christmas. They're selling off your land. The other one is that the Muslims have never doubled in this country. Now they got cities that are going after Muslims because of what? Nancy Pelosi and them passed administrative rule to allow Muslims into office. See, this is where you're getting screwed, people. You don't care. You say you love your children, but prove it. And those who do, they're getting it. They're collecting rainwater, collecting food, and they're collecting rainwater and collecting their assets. Now, Oregon is trying to come up with a new deal on eliminating, and for this year they want to start doing silent gun repossessions. And you better pay attention to that one, folks. So they passed the administrative bill, but it never really went anywhere, but they're going through, and they're putting this thing through. So if they go into your house and do this without you speaking up, and then they can let you bitch afterwards, who's going to listen to you after they stole your guns, your arms? So you got to wake up. This is reality. You're living it. I was glad to see that other people are putting out the Form 506A form. File it. Let's start getting this going. It's your country. Immigrants have no freaking rights in this country. That's a law. That's a real fact. They don't have a right to be on this soil. I've said that many times. It's like people keep talking about, we're going to be slaves. You are a slave, you fool. You already been a slave. How come you haven't been able to wake up to the reality? You pay taxes, don't you? You do what you're told. You go to church. You're not living in real life. Because real life goes hunting and fishing, takes care of their family. They don't sit there and go to these churches. Now, voting machines in 18 United States have been determined, hacked, and programmed now. This is the press release that came out January 5th. And including the Smartmatic voting machines in Oregon are one of the biggest ones that are programmed. And you think that Kate Brown won the last election? Come on. See, Kate Brown doesn't do anything. She's got it all programmed. That's the point. Remember, she's from Spain. She's a lawyer. Lawyers lie. They rape, rob, and children. And without children being raped, they don't have a job. That's a fact. They don't have a job if the children aren't raped. How do you think lawyers make a living? So we do have 2 new circuit court judges that have been appointed in the 9th Circuit Court in California. Pay attention. Respond to these men and women there. You know, I do. I write letters all the time to these men and women when they violate their oath of office and file criminal charges on them. That's your responsibility. Now, the recall effort on California Governor Newsom is still going. Remember, Newsom is Pelosi's nephew, tied up with Alan Brown and all that going back to the 70s. And I posted up the videos on that so you can see how the family works and the history of that. You know, and see, the one thing is that Texas is finally doing a lot more than we have. Texas just passed an administrative rule that says, oh, you don't need a concealed gun permit to carry in the churches. Carry an arm in church, protect your other members. Well, there's a reality check. And everybody keeps going, oh, natural law, we need to go common law. Well, common law is British. I don't believe in the British, nor do I believe in their Bible. So when people talk common law, read the definition of common law. For the first time in your life, read the definition of real common law of the 13th century. Not what you think it is in your fantasy of your own mind that you're portraying. So, and the other thing you should be aware, California is in water restriction, 55 gallons per day per man. Anything over that is a $5,000 fine. And they do that, and they turn off your water. So that's why I say, collect the rainwater, put it together, figure this stuff out. It's your protection. It's your water. You know, you can't sit there and blame somebody else for what's going on around you. It's your fault when it doesn't happen. And so when it comes down to it, for a crime to exist, that's Title 183771, that's corpus delicti. And this is Sherry colon 481F945. See, a corpus delicti, that means there has to be an injured party, man, woman, or child. So who's the injured party in this circumstances? You know, if you're not paying attention to what's going on and what's coming down the pike, because they're doing this, and now Nancy Pelosi is trying to put a Senate bill right now. She just put this out 48 hours ago, or within the last week, I should say. She's trying to do an emergency deal to declare all arms and anybody who has an arm in the United States an enemy to the people. And she keeps going off on this Christian crap. Say, oh, God's going to save us. Well, what was that? Romans 13. God says God gave you the government to kill you. Oh, no. God gave you the government to protect you, they say. Right. Remember Title 18 and Title 28, 3002. The United States is a private corporation under DUNS number. So when you file your structure, you have to put it in a DUNS number. So always claim that. And so, you know, Walmart is getting ready to fire another 700 employees because now they got new janitor robots in their stores. So they don't need humans to do that. That's like when they were putting out McDonald's in Arizona. So you didn't have to have a human cook your food, trimmed. And I've been putting out so you folks comprehend with taxes. This is where I've been coming across with people. So when you pay your state and federal tax, it goes in and pays off the national debt to the king of the banks of the bankers of the British government. So when you pay these taxes, you're paying off the Vatican's debt that they have to pay the Native American Indians and American natives. We're not getting. So, and that's the point. You got to realize that when they're paying this stuff off and we're not getting it, you know, people say, well, you know, I've been asking people, I'm still waiting for a copy from the 13th Amendment from Congress right now, because you know, when we file the paperwork, you know, things get done. I filed on a couple of new cases with children. The children were dropped off in front of their homes. when anybody tried to go back to their cases, dealing with the courts and how they took the kids or anything, even in their own system, after the kids were returned, everything disappeared in the system. Like, that's happened before. So, like a municipality code, corporation code of the United States. And they know this stuff. When you get these public servants and cops and public servants say, oh, we don't know this yet, they lie to you. They actually bluntly lie to you, and I can't believe how many people believe this crap that when they tell them stuff, they believe it. I'm just amazed on half the stuff that goes on some of the times. Most of the time, I'm not amazed at all. So, the IRS forces you to pay taxes. Now, I've proven this. I've been after the IRS to prove this structure with the school board recall, state and federal income tax, and all this stuff for the last 20 years. Been filed and recorded. And people say, well, you never got a response. It's like the response I got from dealing with the court system 2 years ago from the military. From a colonel in the military sent me a letter, an email, and says, if you walk into that courtroom, you give up your rights, you have no rights the minute you walk in that courtroom. And people say, well, that wasn't an answer. And it's like, yes, it was an answer. Sometimes you got to be smart enough to read between the lines and come to reality of what people say. And, you know, it's amazing because when they start speaking, they don't want nothing to do with you. So this goes back to, you know, Ireland, Scotland, and all this shit with the king, you know, the bankruptcy of the King of England. So when you pay your state and federal income tax, your property taxes don't even go in this country. Your property taxes gets paid to the Queen of England because you're stupid enough to pay it. Because all of your taxes do not stay in this country at all. Done the research, I've proven it. It's out there. I've proven the facts. So when people try to sit there and say, oh, well, we're defending this and we're paying this so people got jobs, that's a lie. Because if you're smart enough, you would know they're writing off those jobs on your birth certificate strawman account. When you go to work, it's written off on your strawman account. It's all. I mean, your employment is paid by you. Now, I mean, I haven't seen where it's paid by else yet. I've done the research. I put this research out. And it's frustrating when people sit there and they don't realize what's going on. And so, you know, the one thing, too, is to let the parents know, if you got kids down in L.A. area, the whooping cough has broken out in the public schools in California. So be careful with your kids, because if anybody's coming up from California in this state, especially kids, it is broken out, it is a fact, and it's been proven. So it really comes down to the circumstances of what we're going to be doing. That's why I keep telling people collect rainwater, grow food. You know, I mean, and that's the other thing to let people know in Portland, Oregon. Now, with the homeless people out in Portland, Oregon, now they're trying to say that if the homeless is camping on your ground, you can't throw them off your street corner. You can't throw them off your property. And that's bullshit. You know, and that's the one thing that gets to me about the city of these crappy people. You know, the Supreme Court came out 12 days ago and said, or actually Christmas time, and said, you can camp anywhere. You're not homeless. There's no such thing as homeless. I've been preaching that to people for years. How the hell are you going to be homeless in a country that you have trees, you have roofing, you know, you have shelter? It might be a trailer you might not be happy in. It might be a camper you might not be happy in. But at least you got shelter. You can build a lean-to and you got shelter. So there's no such thing as homelessness. Homelessness is a creation and a figment of people's imagination for 503 strawman accounts to write off debt. That's all it comes down to. So, and this is the other thing, that Virginia is now passing a bill in the state of Virginia. Everybody knows that Virginia is going after your rights to take away your firearms. They're working on passing a bill in the state of Virginia that firearm training for the militia will be a federal crime in their state. These things really do matter. You don't think they matter to you. You don't think they have a problem to you. But they sure do have a problem to everybody who's fighting, who's standing up for their kids. Because remember, a person is an inanimate object, does not exist. A person is a corporation member, 100%. That's like, what is that called, national or citizen. You know, and I'll read the national law to you again. I want you to comprehend this structure with nationals. People say, I'm a national citizen. I'm a national. Well, let me explain what national really means. People go, well, I want to claim a title of nobility. And that's what you're doing, is you're claiming a title of nobility. Let me find national here. And so we know public officials have no right to talk to their servants, their employees. And that's the one thing you have to make sure that, you know, when you file your paperwork, you're claiming you're lawful, not legal. But you have to prove your bloodline. Your bloodline proves your status. And that's the one thing that people have got to make sure that they know what the deal of lawful and illegal truly is. And that's the one thing that when you do file your kids in that structure and you claim your child, you know, if you're not claiming that child until it's 18 as your personal property, that's where you're making a major mistake. Because when a child was born, that was a structure that your, what was that called, VIN number came into existence. So that child is personal property. And so once you claim your property, that's where you have to claim the ownership. If you don't claim the ownership of your property, that's how the state can come in and take your children without a warrant. And that's how they get away with it. So the term statutory, national, 22, the term national of the United States means a citizen of the United States, A or B, person, who though is not a citizen of the United States, but owes permanent allegiance to the United States, both Sir George and Sawyer, and the method of acquiring nationality means national. So you got these guys out there claiming, oh, you need to know your nationality, which you are. You're claiming nationality, so in other words, you're claiming that you are a British subject. And I explain this to these groups out there, and they keep going, oh, no, 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 but I can't believe how many people they got running in and giving these people money. And then these people wondering why they're in jail, why they're losing their assets, why they're doing this, because you're claiming you're not native. You know, for a crime to exist, corpus delicti. You know, you have to prove that they're a man or woman or child is an actual injured man or woman. How are they injured? That has to be described. You know, if their rights were taken, psychological and mental damage. You know, so that's the one thing that has to be done. And see, that's one thing. Property damage of any child, woman, or man, this state corpse cannot be an injured party. The government cannot be injured, nor can an employees be an injured party. And I have that too. That is, you can look at Elk Wilkins, NAB, 1884. 5SCT 41112 U.S. 9-28L ED 643. They put this stuff up there so that way we have something to go. And remember, in 1868, the two corporations deal, because that was when the corporations of the city. Now you got people that say that, well, the corporation founded back in 1770. No, it did not. That was a corporation of the British government when they were trying to do that. That was part of the Constitution with the treaties. The native treaties of 1770 superseded that. And that has been proven by congressional record. And we put that up. That's on the website. So, I mean, when you do your research and you look at these things of what's going on and how bad we've been convinced of these things, paying taxes, doing all this stuff that we're supposed to do, all this crazy stuff to abide these administrative rules. Whose administrative rules are these? Now, when I go to your house, I have to go by your rules in your home. And if I go to, you come to my house, you have to buy my rules. I don't sit there and have to go by some corporation of somebody else's fantasy dictating to me how I'm supposed to be doing whatever I'm doing in my home. See, this is the one thing that you've got to pay attention to what's going on in your system. Our public employees are running amok. I mean, when they're selling public lands without people knowing it, they're doing this stuff left and right. Now, I've got to finish up the ballot title. I'm taking stuff with me. I've got to take a road trip. I got to go back and see his doctors this week. So that's going to be my weekly excursion. But I got to take paperwork with me, getting this stuff ready to be filed. I've been wanting to get this stuff filed for some time, but, I keep watching all this stuff and all these people coming up with these crazy things. And it amazes me that they're not even talking about themselves or their own children. Without the children, you have no future. I have no children. My kids are dead. That's the way life worked. That's the way it worked for me. So, but the bottom line comes down to is that now, for those that have a future, protect your future with your children. That's your future. So when it comes down to this structure, when people are trying to tell you, it's like I put out a deal with Obama. People said Obama was born in Hawaii. Okay, well, Hawaii still flies the Queen of England flag. Hawaii is still owned by the Vatican, technically, legally, paperwork proven. Hawaii is not part of we the people. They say it's part of the 50 states, but the 50 states are not we the people. That's a corporation of 50 states, 3002, title at 28. We the people are totally different than a British corporation, some fantasy of some religion. So when it comes down to this point, knowing when you file your paperwork to file that you're lawful or know that you're legal, prove it. And people say, well, that doesn't mean anything, and I'm going to repeat myself on it. It sure the hell does. This is America. This country ain't open to the world the way we've been lied to and the way we're taught to believe. This country is open to Native Americans in our generations and our future, not the rest of the world, for their way to come in. I mean, it's like, our forefathers never wanted the Muslims to come in and run our country. Nancy Pelosi passed administrative bills with several other senators, and now Muslims are being elected and being able to be in office. That's a statute administrative rule that violates the Constitution, it violates the treaties that we have. But people have got to learn how to educate yourself to those things and stand up to it. Not one man or woman can stand up to it. It takes more than one to do it. And so when it comes into when you purchase your land, your soil, make sure that you're purchasing it with gold and silver, or at least part of it, so you can claim the title. Then that way you claim the ownership. A title is a permission slip. Just like the title on your car, title on your boat, anything like that, it's a permission slip from the state says, hey, we give you permission slip to own our property. And they're claiming that property is theirs when you register your vehicle. You register your boat, you register your children, you register your bike. County and state, they're claiming that ownership. So they're claiming that ownership, how come they're not liable for the insurance? How come they're not liable to pay the tires on your car when you're traveling? See, I was investigating that several years ago, and I was trying to put that together because by law, by the IRS tax code, you can bill the state for your travel expenses. They're claiming you're a state employee or corporation member, so you can write it off. See, I mean, they've got this stuff written in place, putting the pieces together. But also, too, you want to do it so you're not getting caught in the middle where they're trying to come after you to put legalities on you because they didn't like what you filed or what you stood for. We all been there. Not everybody's been there, but some of us do know what it means. So when you stand for your rights and you go after these things and you put these paperwork together and you do this, see, it's like the state of Oregon has a deal, it's all the thing that people don't read. And I've talked to people, public employees all this week, city, county, and state. And I brought this point up dealing with the Oregon State Constitution. You can't sell land, and it's the way the land works. And I go, well, we never read the Constitution. That don't apply to me. I'm not a lawyer. I always love it when you got public employees saying, I'm not a lawyer, but bullshit. If you are a city, county clerk or anybody like that and you're involved in administrative codes and making laws or making administrative codes, you're a lawyer by law. By statute, code, administrative rules, you're a lawyer. That's what it means, folks. That's when you register your kid. You're signing your kid over to the state and saying you're not a responsible parent. So, and people say, well, I didn't know that. Well, then you have to go back and file on your child, file to claim it. I don't want to hear that you don't know it. You know it now, so go file on your property. Claim that property as yours. It's up to you to do that. I mean, one thing is I'm excited about Trump coming through. He's supposed to be passing this thing that says you don't need a concealed license permit. I've carried concealed and open for 35 years myself. Never worried about it. But it would be nice to see that, come to effect. Where we're not sitting there stressing out on these things, that we have a right to actually protect our homes. Remember, the Supreme Court says the police department's not there to protect you or your children. And people wonder why when their kids are stolen and they panic and they're wondering why they're not getting answers. Well, you're not going to get answers. They already wrote the administrative rules. How come you're not paying attention to it? See, this is the one thing that the people need to start standing up and paying attention to the reality that's around them, not the fantasy that what they're been indoctrinated to believe by TV programs. We all grew up with different TV, Magnum PI and a whole bunch of these programs that we grew up with, we watch these people, and it's always funny how these people always get arrested, they always go to jail, and they're always held in jail, but nobody's been brought up on charges, and so you're held in jail when technically they can't hold you in jail without a conviction or charges. So if there are no charges, they're supposed to release you within 24 hours. But that's the one thing that people ain't paying attention to, the real truth of what's going on here. Because how come you're not standing up on these facts? See, that's the one thing when we start standing up on these facts, we start maneuvering these facts, and we start teaching these things. And that's what comes really together on all these things. See, the kids have a future, but it depends on how you want to be able to provide that future. It's up to us to provide that future. Nobody else is going to do it. So, I mean, you know, we get down to this stuff. It's going to be interesting with the new year to see things up. I've got some things I'm getting ready to, like I said, I will be filing this paperwork coming out. And that's the one thing that people got to really start standing up and realizing this stuff. Because when this paperwork gets filed, if we're not standing up on it, who cares? And you think your home's safe? You think your child's safe? You'll be learning. See, that's the whole thing. People don't pay attention to the reality of what's going on around them. And it really is sad. You know, it's so amazing that what's going on in this country. So I'm watching Nancy Pelosi putting some of these bills up to take away your rights. And they're doing a damn good job on it. Literally, they're doing a pretty good job on it. And see, most people don't even have a clue about what your rights are. And then they're wondering why you're not allowed to go grow food. They're attacking that again. You know, and like I said, in California now, they're back on limit of water, 55 gallons a day per man, woman, and child. So you got to divide that up how that works. And remember, if you go over a certain allotment, it's a $5,000 fine. That's why it's so apparent that you know when you got your houses, pump your washer to your plants to a pond that can collect and sterilize and clean the water. Filtration system. You know, solar ones ain't that expensive. They're only $60. So I mean, we got solutions out there, and it's depending on how we're going to do this. So we do have a conflict of interest coming up with the judges and attorneys, and I've got some stuff I'm getting ready to file, and I get it out. And you have some horse tonight. It's been a rough week. But it's like bringing up the circumstances of conflict of interest statements. And I put those out, and I insist you folks read this. And I insist that you folks, when you file your complaints or your criminal charges or whatever, you make sure you file a conflict of interest form. And make sure it's filed in Washington, D.C. and Department of Justice, too. State and federal Department of Justice. So once the filings start getting more and more out there, then people are going to start seeing what's going on, and then people can't run and hide. It is coming to that point. I mean, we are living this. You know, it's not a joke that these things are really happening today. It is a fact. So it is going to be coming down to terminology of what's going to happen here in the next couple of months. Like I said, Oregon is trying to sell more public land. I got to get this thing published. And even though that Oregon can't sell public land, when it really comes down to it. And that's the Constitution of Oregon. It says it right in the Constitution. The Constitution of Oregon says, they have to go ask permission from Washington, D.C. to sell public land, and then they have to ask permission of the people, we the people of the state. Nobody's been asked that when they sell land, soil. So by law, we're supposed to be getting these responses. We're supposed to be getting this. So we're not getting public meetings. You know, the public meetings they have, they're not real public meetings. I've been preaching about that and whining about that for 15 years. You know, people just don't give a damn. It's like Oregon license. So it's very interesting, you know. Oregon license, you know, you don't need an Oregon license. And licenses are class A, B, and C commercial under the Vehicle Code, Commercial Code of ORS. Not once in ORS where it says you need a license to travel. It says you need a license to make a business living. So if you're travel agents or, FedEx or something like that, you're a driver, well, you're in commercial commerce. But when you're not in commercial commerce and you're just going from point A to point E for your employment, they can't do nothing. But they're getting away with it because people are scared to stand up. I know, I've been through those conversations with several people the last few weeks. And it's just so disturbing. And remember, the bar, the bar is the British accreditation of the King and Queen of England. The United States Bar was founded in 1878, August 21. That's the British government. So, anyhow, I'm going to make it quick and short tonight. If anybody's got any questions, because my throat is just like going nuts today, and you guys could hear it, and I'm having a rough day. So, anyhow, let's just call it a short one. Anybody's got any comments tonight?
All participants are unmuted.
Okay, no comments tonight. We'll call it a night. I'll get some other stuff posted up on the YouTube channel tonight, some new information. And so anyhow, y'all have a good evening. May the Creator, the great